And, you know, it's such a powerful connection, I think. And again, we're talking about our link to our grandparents and listening to their stories and appreciating their role. And I know it's a role, Gloria, you take with such pride. You love being a grandmother and having your grandchildren.
Until you have grandchildren, you don't realise how much you're going to absolutely adore them and love them. And I was fortunate enough to see, yes, a lot of agreement from the audience. But I was fortunate enough to see 2 of my grandchildren born. Which I never would have asked Karen, but she asked me, would I like to be there? And so I say to them sometimes, I have known you, and they finish the sentence, say, from the second I was born, which is true. But I think back in the day, we were kind of not made to go, but it was mandatory almost that we went to see our grandparents all the time. With modern life, because you were talking about how life has changed, etc., and the pace of life, I think with modern life, you have to kind of grow with them and realise that when they come to about 12, 14, they want to be with their mates. They don't really want to be visiting their grandparents. So I make it a point. I think it's a two-way thing. I keep in touch with them as much as they keep in touch with me. I take them to the theatre, take them out for dinner. I try to keep up to date with music. And the funny thing is, when the Beatles had a bit of a resurgence for young people, they went, how do you know so much about the Beatles? So I'm old enough, yeah. But,
I mean, grandparents, you know, I couldn't have had the job I've had or the career I've had without my parents-in-law in particular, Jan and Terry, but also my mum. My mum was like a maternity nurse. When I had both my babies, she came and she did the night shift because she said, I never sleep anyway. You know, she was in her 60s by then. And
when you said maternity nurse, I thought you were going to say she was breastfeeding them.
No, virtually. But my grandparents, Jan and Terry, moved down to be near us and to sort of help support us when we had to be away and everything. And my kids love being with them. To be honest, I think probably just a little bit more than us because they're mischievous with them. And they give them, you know, you can be reckless as a grandparent, can't you? In a way that as a parent you're trying to be a disciplinarian or all those things.
Eat healthy,
but I think the stories handed down is so important as well. My mother-in-law actually did me a huge favour because she wrote a book that she self-published, which was all about her own childhood and everything. And my daughter read it, was absolutely gripped to it for about 5 weeks as she sort of... But I know...
Great idea.
You're saying that companies do that now, or that...
No. There's a card, a set of cards that I got when we went away with my mum-in-law earlier this year, which I think it's called something like Your Family. And it's basically a way of getting children and younger people to get stories that they maybe wouldn't ask. So they'll sit with their grandparents and say, what was your first job when you left school? What was your favourite memory? And it was really, really a nice thing to do. But these days, having a grandson of my own, little Theo, which has just changed our lives completely. The trouble is with the blended family, there isn't just 2 nanas and 2 granddads. There's about 7, you know, and everyone's fighting for this child. But I think grandparents, I remember when Matty was born, my mum looking into the cot and saying, I knew that I would love my first grandson because he's your child, but I was unprepared for the overwhelming love that I felt. And dropping a name here, but Michael Caine, the actor. Oh. Is there any other Michael Caine? But he did say, when I met him once, he said, grandchildren fill a hole in your heart you didn't know was there. Oh. And I think that really explains that. And my kids' relationship with my mum and dad, because they only had one set of grandparents, sadly, on the other side they died, was just wonderful to behold. And Matty has Annie tattooed across there, and that's my mum. So, you know, she'd be thrilled that she's going on.
It's interesting. According to a recent survey, more than half of grandparents feel distant from their grandchildren. 39% of grandparents saying that they feel lonely due to a lack of connection with their family or grandchildren. I know certainly with mine, obviously there's physical distance. They're all back in Northern Ireland, but thank God for FaceTime because
absolutely.
At least then every night they'll go, Granny, look at this, and Grand, and it's even if it's just for 30 seconds about something completely silly and trivial, it's just a lovely thing to constantly feel like we're in each other's lives all the time. If you can't physically go to see them every Sunday,
go on, FaceTime your grandparents. Do it now.
Do it.
Ring them up.
It is absolutely.